Hello, football fans. Once upon a time, Kylian Mbappé was not just the future of French football. He was the future of football. He was the teenager who set the world on fire at the 2018 World Cup, the kid with lightning in his boots and ice in his veins, the poster boy for Paris, for France, for the next generation. But here we are in 2025, and a strange thing has happened. France has moved on, and Mbappé? He's still scoring goals, making headlines, and cashing checks, but he's no longer the undisputed golden boy of French football. So what happened? Let's break it down, because this fall from golden grace didn't happen overnight. When France lifted the 2018 World Cup, the world saw a team effort. But let's be honest, France felt like Mbappé's team. Pogba had the charisma, Griezmann had the experience, but Mbappé had the electricity. At just 19 years old, he had already drawn comparisons to Pelé, and he wasn't shying away from the spotlight. Sponsors swarmed. Nike put his face everywhere. He even starred in FIFA 21's cover. In Paris, he was crowned the Prince of Parc des Princes. But here's the twist. Kings who rise too fast rarely rule for long. When a player is hyped as the messiah of football before he's even legally allowed to rent a car in America, the only way to go is down. The first real crack in the golden boy image wasn't a missed shot. It wasn't a lost final. It was power. Reports began to swirl that Mbappé was demanding more than just a striker's role at PSG. He wanted influence over tactics, transfers, and teammates. Some rumors claimed he didn't want Neymar around anymore. Others said he wanted to decide who took penalties. Some even joked that PSG offered him the keys to the Eiffel Tower. In 2022, when he shocked everyone by rejecting Real Madrid to stay in Paris, it wasn't just about loyalty, it was about control. And suddenly, the French public didn't see a humble, hungry kid anymore. They saw a politician in boots. France loves a hero, but it lives for a downfall. The press, once obsessed with Mbappé's smile and stepovers, began focusing on his entourage, his diva reputation, his friction with teammates. He went from Le Sauveur, the savior, to Le Problème in some tabloids. And don't underestimate the role of social media. Every sulk, every missed handshake, every look of frustration on the pitch, clipped, looped, and dissected on Twitter. Even his World Cup 2022 heroics, a hat trick in the final, were overshadowed by the fact that France still lost. It was like scoring 3 goals in a dream and still waking up in a nightmare. Nothing speeds up a fall like someone climbing up right next to you. France's next wave isn't just good, it's scary good. Eduardo Camavinga, Aurélien Tchouameni, William Saliba, and especially Lamine Yamal have stolen the spotlight. Yamal, just 17, has the humble hunger that Mbappé used to embody, and fans notice. French supporters, tired of off-pitch drama, have started rallying around the new generation. Not because they're better, but because they're fresh. Mbappé suddenly looks old. Not in age, but in narrative. He's gone from tomorrow's star to yesterday's story. Mbappé is still the captain of France. But is he the leader? There have been whispers of disconnect in the dressing room. Younger players looking elsewhere for guidance, veterans clashing with his style, and then there's the on-pitch issue. Mbappé, once the thrilling breakout, is now expected to carry the team. When he doesn't, the criticism is tenfold. When he does, it's barely appreciated. That's the curse of being great early. Your best becomes your baseline. Mbappé finally moved to Real Madrid in 2024. The transfer that was teased for 5 years finally happened. But instead of it being a crowning moment, it felt late. By then, Real already had Bellingham, Vinicius, and a shiny new midfield. Mbappé didn't feel like the centerpiece. He felt like another piece. He scored goals, of course, but Madrid fans are not sentimental. They love hard workers. Warriors. Mbappé sometimes still looked like he was filming a cologne commercial. In France, people started calling him a global star, not a French hero. Big difference. There's a moment every superstar faces when the public just gets tired. We've seen it with LeBron James, with Cristiano Ronaldo, with Conor McGregor. Overexposure leads to backlash. When you're in every ad, every highlight reel, every controversy, you start to feel less special. Mbappé fatigue is real in France. Even when he scores, the reaction is muted. Well, that's what he's paid for. It's not fair, but it's human nature. Let's be clear. Mbappé is still one of the best players in the world, but greatness alone doesn't buy you love. Especially not in France, where football isn't just a sport, it's theater. It's passion, romance, rebellion. Mbappé was once the perfect lead in that story. But now, he feels more like a complicated anti-hero. Brilliant, but hard to root for. And part of that, to be fair, isn't even his fault. He's been under the spotlight since he was 16. Expected to be humble, mature, media-trained, and also superhuman, all before he could legally drink wine in his own country. The expectations were ridiculous. The pedestal was too high. And when people finally got tired of looking up, they started looking sideways at the next shiny thing. You see, the Golden Boy tag isn't just about talent. It's about timing. It's about story. Mbappe's story used to be irresistible. The kid from Bondi, the son of immigrants, racing past defenders like they were frozen in time. But over the years, the fairy tale turned into a boardroom saga. Contract drama, power plays, leaked demands, Instagram cryptic posts. The romance faded. And romance is what fans want. That's why a 17-year-old like Lamine Yamal, wide-eyed and unpolished, feels more exciting. He reminds people of when Mbappé was fresh, before the interviews got stiff, before the celebrations felt choreographed, before the mystery disappeared. Because that's the irony of being overexposed. You become boring. Even the media has shifted. They no longer gush about Mbappe's next move. They question his leadership, his loyalty, his influence. Every stumble gets amplified. Every success gets a little footnote. But he's not what he used to be. So has Mbappé really changed? Or has France changed? Maybe both. France as a football nation is restless. It doesn't dwell on the past. It doesn't care about your legacy unless you keep building it. That's why Zidane is untouchable. He left the stage at his peak. Mbappé, on the other hand, stayed too long in the role of the next big thing. And now people are asking, is this it? Of course, this doesn't mean Mbappé is finished. Not by a long shot. He's 26. In football years, he's just hitting his prime. He could still win Ballon d'Ors, Champions Leagues, even another World Cup. But the question is no longer about what he can win. The question is, will people care? Will he ever ignite that same national pride? Will kids paint his name on walls again like they did in 2018? Will he ever feel like France's own again, or just a superstar passing through? Mbappé now stands at a crossroads. Not a career crisis, but a narrative crisis. Does he continue down the path of global icon, building his brand, scoring his goals, and letting the spotlight flicker where it wants? Or does he reset? Does he become a leader? The kind who brings young blood along, who earns the dressing room's loyalty, who plays for legacy instead of leverage, because right now that's what's missing. Not talent, not trophies, but love, belonging. He's still cheered, but no longer adored, respected, but not revered. He's France's star striker, but someone else is already being called the soul of the team. And maybe that's okay. Maybe Mbappé was never meant to be France's eternal golden boy. Maybe his true role is different. The lightning storm before the calm. The player who forced a generation to grow faster. The one who taught France that talent alone doesn't make a hero. Character does. Because if we're honest, there's something tragic about his story. He did everything right and still lost the nation's heart. But maybe the fall is part of the journey. Maybe greatness isn't about being loved forever, but about showing up anyway when the love fades. Because love can be taken away. But legacy? That's earned. Mbappé still has time to write a different ending, not the one France expected, but the one he chooses. And who knows? Maybe in 5 years when Lamine Yamal is dealing with his own headlines and pressure, France will look back at Mbappé with different eyes. The same way we look back at all the greats. With respect, with understanding, with the bittersweet sting of hindsight. So no, Kylian Mbappé is no longer the golden boy of France, but maybe, just maybe, he'll become something rarer. A legend.